Hi, Everygirls, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is one I have been so excited to record because it's something that I did not even realize until a few weeks ago. And it has completely shifted not only how I use my phone, but all of my routines, how I feel in my life. So I was at the Eudaimonia Wellness Summit in Palm Beach a couple weeks ago, and I went to a talk by TJ Power. He's a neuroscientist, former Cambridge lecturer. I loved him. He was absolutely brilliant. And his entire focus is on brain chemistry and mental health, specifically how hormones like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins affect our modern daily lives. I walked out of this lecture feeling like I had just been handed the playbook for how to get my brain and honestly, my attention span and also my life back. Since then, I have been on my phone so much less, not in like a, oh, pat on the back, look at me being so productive and perfect kind of way. It's just like I can genuinely tell I'm less addicted. I charge my phone outside the bedroom now. I don't feel the compulsion to check it 5,000 times a day. And it's not because I suddenly have all this self control and willpower. It's because I understand what's happening in my brain when I scroll and how to interrupt the pattern in a way that actually works. And here's the thing, like, no hate to our phones. I mean, maybe they deserve a little bit of hate, but they're enjoyable, they're fun. I don't want to like really demonize technology. I mean, I don't know. If I got the chance, I might move to the middle of nowhere and enjoy my life technology free. I mean, who are we kidding? I would never go without Bravo. But just think about how much your relationship with your phone is probably affecting you. It's not only just causing our attention span to get worse, but it's also affecting our brain chemistry, which I want to talk about today, in such a massive way that it's affecting every area of our life. It's affecting our career, our connections, our health, physical health, not only just from the phone, but like our motivation for life to pursue things that make us healthy, that make us happy. Like, imagine a world where you didn't immediately look at your phone as a habit. If the first hour of your day was spent doing something that fulfills you, that brings you joy, that gives you energy, purpose, motivation, instead of scrolling on a phone looking at everyone else's life. Obviously there's all this research being done. I think there's even more research that will be down the line. I'm sure in years from now, there's going to be all the studies about the long-term damage that does to our confidence, our physical health, our mental health, our relationships, our career. Like, it is damaging. And I think to me, there's again so much research and how our relationship with our phones and the fact that it is our second skin. We are taking it with us everywhere. I am even taking my phone with me to the bathroom. That's fucking crazy. So, yes, there's all this research about how damaging it is to us. I think the biggest disservice that I want to point out, especially for what we're trying to heal and grow and help within our own lives, is how it takes away our own connection to self. Like, every time now we are alone, including when we're standing in line for coffee, when we're waiting for an elevator, we pull out our phones. We go look at someone else's life. We click through Instagram stories and TikTok to watch other people rather than sit still with our own selves for 5 seconds. So I know this about myself. I know that I have this, I guess, phone addiction is really what it is. I mean, I'm not even like, oh, I need my phone. Like, there are people that are clinically diagnosably addicted, and there are literally rehabs for phones. I think there's going to be even more and more of these kind of programs. But I've noticed, again, just for myself, I take my phone with me everywhere. I've talked about this many times on the podcast before, but the hardest habit for me to break has been not scrolling in bed first thing in the morning and not even checking my phone. Like, the first thing my brain wants to do as soon as I open my eyes is check my phone. I don't want to live that life. I don't want you guys to live that life. So we are changing that today. By the end of this episode, I swear to you, your life will be changed forever. So, looking at those four brain chemicals that I mentioned before: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So, these four chemicals play a specific role in our mood, our motivation, stress levels, sense of connection, physical health, affect so many things. And every time you scroll or every time you check your texts or your inbox or your TikTok, you are triggering some version of all of them, but in ways that aren't actually helping you feel better and improving your life. In fact, technology is honestly, it's genius. It is using these four brain chemicals to get you hooked, which then depletes your motivation, happiness, connection, and so much more. So I want to break down what each of these brain chemicals do, how your phone is manipulating them, and then offer a small reset, like a solution that you can do to rebalance each chemical and take your power back. That's the biggest thing. Like you use technology to make your life better. Technology doesn't use you to make your life worse. And by the way, the information that I'm about to give you really does work for any other semi addictive, high dopamine activity, like snacking at night, watching TV, porn. Like, I'm not here to judge, okay? I'm just going to give you the science to help you hack your life. So you can apply this to really any habit that you might be struggling with. Let's start with dopamine because this is the chemical that is most tied to phone addiction or any habitual addictive state, snacking a lot, TV, porn also. Dopamine is your motivation chemical. It's what pushes you to get up, get moving, seek rewards. Think of it kind of like the brain's internal drive system. Like in cavemen days, dopamine is what helped the cavemen feel motivated to go hunt for food, to build fire, to find shelter, basically to do the hard things that were essential for survival. So it is a key evolutionary adaptation. Dopamine is truly key to our survival. You found some berries, dopamine hit. You built a fire, dopamine hit. It makes you feel really good when you accomplish something so that you want to accomplish something and then keep accomplishing things. So, accomplishing anything gives you dopamine. Making your bed in the morning, going for a walk, completing a workout. You know how you feel really good after completing any task? That is dopamine. The problem is, however, our phones now offer instant dopamine and not in like a gradual uptick like you would feel if you're doing a tough workout and then you finally get the payoff and you feel really good once you finish. It's like a major dopamine spike right away from all the swiping and stimulation of your phone. And your brain doesn't know the difference between I just hunted a deer to feed my family and I watched a girl restock her fridge with aesthetically pleasing containers. Your brain doesn't know the difference. A dopamine hit is a dopamine hit. And dopamine isn't designed to be released over and over and over in these rapid, huge bursts. After an intense dopamine spike, like we get from scrolling on a phone, your levels will drop. You will feel dull, foggy, restless, maybe even anxious or sad. That is your brain trying to rebalance itself after being flooded with dopamine. And then what we do in response to having these dopamine crashes, we scroll again, reach for our phones, we eat junk food, we chase another hit, not because we are even enjoying it a lot of the time, but because we're trying to get back to baseline dopamine levels. It's like your phone giving you fast food for your brain. It tastes really good in the moment, but afterward, you're left with a stomach ache, a energy crash, and zero real nourishment. And this is also how it gets addicting. TJ Power said that every phone check is equal to one smoke of a cigarette in terms of how much dopamine the brain is releasing, which is why it is so addicting. And it's really true. Like that's how it gets to be habitual is because, I certainly go to my phone out of habit. I'm trying really hard to fix this one thing. I go to my phone because I'm intentionally thinking, okay, it's time to post this Instagram or, I want to check my phone to see if anyone called or I want to answer this person via text or I want to send this text or whatever. Like I'm choosing when I'm going to look at my phone intentionally instead of what I've gotten into, which is it's like habit. I finish recording an episode, habit to go to my phone. I mindlessly throughout the day habitually go to check my phone. That is how it gets to be this addictive status because of the dopamine release. And then the other thing is after a major dopamine spike, because again, it's the motivation chemical, your brain thinks that you already accomplished something hard. It thinks that you have earned the reward of dopamine, and that kills your motivation for the rest of the day because the reward actually came before any effort, before you actually accomplished anything. But it's tricking your brain to think that it has. So scrolling through your phone is actually killing your motivation long term. Even if you're feeling not very motivated to go to the gym, or you're feeling like it's really hard to get into work and you're just like not really motivated, the cause could very well be because you scrolled earlier that day. And obviously, lack of motivation sucks when you want to be motivated to work out, or you want to accomplish your work goals, or you need to clean your apartment later. So you got to be motivated. But also, not even just for productivity's sake, but for happiness. This cycle of effort and then reward is essential for happiness. That is why dopamine is known as a happy hormone. So, the biggest hack that will benefit you the most is phone fasting. We're all big on intermittent fasting, where we set timelines about when we do and don't eat food. But most of us don't think to do that with our phones, even though they're not giving us real nourishment like food does. Like it makes no sense why we are intermittent fasting and not phone fasting, especially in the morning. This was, again, a major change for me because I love a morning scroll. I'm a slow waker up. I'm not like a alarm goes off, I'm going to go take on my day. I need a minute. Okay. I like to wake up nice and gradually have my diva morning. Do not force me out of bed. So the hardest habit for me to break, because I don't want to force myself out of bed, it's so easy to go to my phone and check Instagram, or even checking my emails and checking Slack. And first of all, that's just kind of like wasting my time. Like I could be doing so much, even with those 5, 10, 15 minutes, doing something so much better for me that fulfills me so much deeper and sets up my day to feel great. But also just like think about what you're telling yourself. Even if you are responding to people and you're checking your texts and emails and Slack messages and getting back to people, and that's your first response of the day, what you are subconsciously telling yourself is you don't come first. If you are responding to people first and foremost, checking what other people need from you instead of tending to yourself first, what do you think that's telling your subconscious? That your needs, you, don't come first. Then also, we add in the layer, if you're checking Instagram or TikTok first thing, as most of us are doing, we start our entire day subconsciously comparing ourselves to other people. That is the start of our whole day, is what is this person doing and I'm not? You start your day already feeling behind in your life because you're watching other people live their life instead of living your own. So this was a habit I've been trying to break for years, and understanding the science behind it, I immediately started charging my phone in another room, and I do not look at my phone for the first hour of my day. That happened kind of overnight. And doing this like phone fasting, not checking your phone first thing in the morning, is really important, obviously for the reasons like I just mentioned, but from a very primal evolutionary standpoint, your brain wakes up in the morning already scanning for dopamine. That's what it is designed to do first thing in the morning, so that it knows you're going to make progress for your survival. Your brain wants caveman you to search for food or shelter ASAP first thing in the morning. So your brain wakes up searching for where the dopamine hit's going to be so that you feel that motivation to get up and find your resources, right? When you are giving yourself this massive dopamine hit, first thing in the morning is telling your brain within the first 5-10 minutes of your day, oh, you've already accomplished everything you need to, because, whoa, look at this massive dopamine spike. So our motivation for the entire day diminishes from that one 5-minute interaction in the morning. If you're someone who's like, I can't go cold turkey, I like scroll all day, every day, like TikTok is my everything. I get it. That's a hard thing to break. And also, again, I think it's okay to give ourselves intentional time to scroll. I think that's okay as long as you're being mindful about the content that is actually feeding you instead of draining you. But if you can just stay off in the morning, have your scroll sessions later in the afternoon, even at night if you can, again, not affecting your bedtime, but like later in the day, give yourself the morning time, even if it's just 30 minutes, so that your brain is still able to scan for more dopamine. It doesn't lose motivation because it thinks you've already accomplished what you need to accomplish. So, staying off your phone in the morning, even 30 minutes if you can, 15 minutes. If 30 minutes is like, oh my God, I can't not check my phone for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like start small and work your way up. Starting with whatever feels feasible to you, just wait minutes to check your phone. Or you can implement fasting between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m., or you can look at your phone only for 7 hours a day or whatever guidelines you want to set. Obviously, just like intermittent fasting, people have different ideas of what works for them, the timelines or guidelines. So pick any timeline that you want to set. It will be a huge game changer to regulate your dopamine. And then rethink when you use your phone. I now, again, understanding the science, every time I go to my phone and check Instagram or check texts or scroll, I look at that as the reward. So I'm what my brain would understand is putting an effort. I'm getting up, I'm doing a workout, I'm completing work tasks. It could be like unloading the dishwasher, just completing something, and then only checking my phone after accomplishing hard tasks, not before it. Or again, only allowing myself a scroll later in the day rather than first thing in the morning. Just all of this intentionality. I'm not saying TikTok is evil, never look at your phone again. I'm just saying intentionality behind when you are checking is going to be so helpful. And now you have the knowledge to be intentional because you understand what your brain is doing, what's happening. And just know that the more you accomplish in a day, which again, you know me, I'm anti toxic productivity. Accomplish is just like what your brain understands as a task that it's getting done. So it can be anything from making your bed to going on a walk to even things like a cold plunge or cold shower. This releases dopamine because you were given a challenge and then you finished or survived it. Like that is one of the benefits of cold plunging and why people do it for their health is because it releases dopamine. The body is understanding that to be, oh, we survived a hard task. So then you get the reward of dopamine where it feels really good in order to motivate you to keep surviving. Like that's literally its purpose. So anything where you're given a challenge, a task, and then you complete it, that is known as slow dopamine. It's the dopamine that you earn. Even like reading a chapter of a book is releasing slow dopamine rather than this crazy dopamine spike scrolling on TikTok because you are putting in effort. You are reading, you are turning the page, you are completing a chapter of a book. It sounds so maybe silly and very simple, but that is how the brain is understanding it. Unloading the dishwasher, finishing a task you've been avoiding. And slow dopamine is what has all these benefits. It's what makes us happy, less stressed. It's good for the brain without any of the negative, addictive, or destructive reactions like the really fast dopamine hit. The goal here is not to avoid dopamine. Like we need dopamine. It's a happy hormone. Your body needs it for survival, for its health. The goal is instead to get dopamine from things that actually move your life forward so that your brain starts to remember, oh, right, this is what real reward feels like. Or also something else that kind of this made me be really conscious of when you do want to just like relax on the couch, watching movies, longer TV shows. TJ Powers actually talks about this too. When we watch a movie or when we watch a long episode of a show or shows stacked one after the other, the brain is still requiring focus and it's this slower dopamine build. So it really is technically just these fast scrolls or like fast texts or like the quick access to things, the going in between apps. It's all that stuff that is causing these extreme dopamine spikes. So now I think of it like when I just want to like relax on the couch, turn off my brain is what it feels like and just watch something. I will even turn on a 30-minute show, a 20-minute show instead of scrolling. And then when you are watching TV, not scrolling while you're watching or during commercial breaks so that you can be prioritizing the slower dopamine release than the quick scrolls because it's less stimulation. It takes more concentration and focus. So just think of it like you want the slow build of dopamine. You want to feel the reward after work. I mean, obviously, watching a movie is a lot less work than a task in your job or unloading the dishwasher. But from the brain's perspective, how the brain is interpreting it, it still is requiring concentration to get to the climax of the movie. You're still requiring, quote, work in some way by concentration and focus and imagination and creative thinking. That is such a different experience than scrolling on your phone. So I love to turn off my brain and I love a good TV show. I love to watch something on a screen. Okay. I love it. There's a way to do that and not damage our motivation and our dopamine levels and our brain, and it's really just the intentionality and prioritizing that form. Now let's talk about oxytocin, which If you're familiar with it, you probably know it as the love hormone. Oxytocin is the hormone that makes us feel close, safe, supported in community and relationships. It is released when you hug someone you love, when you laugh with a friend, when you feel seen in a conversation, when you have those really great conversations that you're like, oh, that was such a great combo. When oxytocin is flowing, we feel emotionally full. We feel like we belong. I'm sure if you felt that before, you know what I'm talking about, where we just feel full, satisfied emotionally. And weirdly, research has shown that it's one of the reasons that we scroll, actually. We're not always looking for information or entertainment. A lot of the time, we are subconsciously looking for connection. We, are checking our texts, we refresh our feeds, we look at notifications to see how many likes we get on Instagram. I cannot tell you how many times a day. I'm trying to be better about it now, obviously knowing all this, but my habit for sure for the longest time was, did people like this post? Did people comment on this post? And honestly, a lot of times, no. I just don't get a lot of engagement on my social media. I think it's my lesson in life that I have to learn to not rely on like that artificial sense of connection, but also like my Instagram if you see it. Thank you. But that's what we're doing when we go on our phones. We are checking to see how many likes we got. We watch other people's lives through their stories or TikToks. But these are simulations of connection. It's not actual connection, and it doesn't release oxytocin to genuinely satisfy you and emotionally fulfill you, which then leaves us even lonelier. And then we're subconsciously going back to our phones trying to fill that void. And then it's like this endless cycle because we are needing the oxytocin, thinking that this connection is going to get us oxytocin, and then it doesn't. It's like drinking salt water when you're dehydrated and it feels like it should help, but it actually leaves you thirstier than before you drank it. This is why you can scroll for an hour and see nothing but other human beings, keep up with 50 people's lives and dozens of texts or emails all day, every day, and still feel empty and alone. Your brain did not get what it was actually searching for. But the good news is that real oxytocin is not very hard to access. You don't need to be in a romantic relationship or have, some deep heart to heart every day to feel it. Your body responds to even the simplest cues of connection. We are wired for connection. Like, it is, to me, the coolest thing ever to understand the science and the research. We are beings that are quite literally meant for community. We thrive in connection. We are wired for connecting to one another. So even little things like making eye contact with your barista, that is releasing a little oxytocin, snuggling with your dog, calling your mom while you're on your walk, hugging your friend when you're with them. Research shows that humans require 5 hugs a day for just baseline oxytocin level. So check in. How many times are you hugging someone every day? If you live alone, get in your hugs when you see people, or have 5 hugs throughout the day from your roommate or partner or your family. The cool thing about oxytocin is that even though our search and need for oxytocin is actually a huge reason for scrolling on our phones and phone addiction, real oxytocin is actually the best cure for phone addiction or to spend less time doom scrolling. If you go back to how the brain evolves, my favorite lens of the world is the caveman lens to understand why our brains developed this way, right? Dopamine was designed to get us to take action. Like I said, it's the motivation chemical. It's trying to, motivate us in theory to do things that would keep us alive. But oxytocin was meant to be the reward for dopamine. Cavemen would go out and hunt all day or search for wood, or I don't know, what else do cavemen have to do all day? I don't know their life. They would go out and do all this work so that they could come back and dance and laugh with their tribe at night. Dopamine and oxytocin are meant to work in tandem. And research shows that oxytocin is what can actually get us out of the dopamine loop. There's a study that I actually mentioned a couple weeks ago. It's sad, but it's important and like really enlightening. So scientists placed a rat alone in a cage with 2 water bottles, one with regular water, one with morphine-laced water. The rat, completely isolated, poor little alone rat, this breaks my heart, drank the morphine water obsessively and basically killed himself. He overdosed within 2 days. Each morphine sip was a hit of dopamine that got so addictive, the rat could not stop himself. But when they replaced the same setup with a group of rats, the same morphine water available, but now in a cage with other rats, their little rat pack, none of them overdosed. None of them even drank the morphine water consistently. They had social connection, play, bonding. The addiction didn't stick because the need it was trying to fill wasn't there. That is the power of oxytocin. It is why connection, like real connection, not this kind of artificial keeping up with people through group chats or gossiping together. And it's like real connection is one of the most effective antidotes to phone addiction. Not willpower, like people will tell you, not deleting your apps and sitting in silence with your cravings, but filling the actual emotional gap that your brain is trying to fill for you through your phone. This is why you really just cannot shame yourself or restrict yourself out of doom scrolling. Your brain is doing what it was designed to do. It's looking for a way to feel okay, to feel better, to feel connected. It is just going about it the wrong way. The truth is that when your oxytocin is full, you don't feel as pulled to check in on everyone else's life. You feel more rooted in your own. You probably have experienced this because I remember, when I was first falling in love with my fiance. Oh my God, when you're falling in love, that is a freaking rush of oxytocin like it's nobody's business, right? And I just remember I wasn't like snacking as much. I wasn't scrolling as much. And it is probably because I was so full of oxytocin that my brain did not need to go find it elsewhere. So when I notice myself on my phone more than usual one day, or I'm reaching for my phone to scroll, I think to myself, oh, I must be low on oxytocin. And I do whatever I can to fulfill that. I kiss my dog on the mouth. He has such a kissable mouth. I go and hug or talk to my fiance. This was so sad that I talked about kissing my dog on the mouth and not my fiance. I will make plans with a friend. I'll call my mom. I will literally take a moment to like give myself an oxytocin hit. This is another little hack is you don't need actually someone else to do that. You can give your own self oxytocin, give yourself a compliment. It feels so silly, but when you literally touch yourself, and yes, for sure, self pleasure 100% counts. But what I really just mean is like literally give yourself a little hug. It feels so stupid, but that is a little oxytocin release. So, viewing the urge to scroll this way, I mean, it becomes a lot more powerful and helpful when we view that urge to scroll as a connection deficiency instead of a willpower deficiency, doesn't it? There's this tiny ritual I've started that has turned into one of the most important and luxurious self care moments in my routine. So, after a long day, I was probably working late, nonstop until 9 p.m., feeling totally wiped. My treat for myself is to turn on Frank Sinatra, take a hot shower, and then massage in Osea's Undaria Algae Body Butter. There is something about rubbing in a product that feels rich and luxurious, but not at all in an overpowering kind of way. Like, I usually don't love a body butter because they can feel too greasy and don't absorb. But within seconds of massaging in this body butter, it just feels like the softest version of my actual skin instead of heavy product. Osea's Undaria Algae Body Butter is made with Undaria seaweed, shea butter, and ceramides and gives you 72 hours of hydration. And the research agrees with me. It's clinically shown to improve texture and firmness in 4 weeks. This body butter is so indulgent. It feels like something I should have had to book a spa treatment to experience, but it's sitting right on my bathroom counter. Experience body care from Osea that actually delivers visible results. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code TheEverygirl at OseaMalibu.com. That's OSEA Malibu.com, code TheEverygirl. Okay, next chemical is serotonin. If dopamine is about motivation and oxytocin is about connection, serotonin is about stabilizing your mood. It's kind of like the opposite of stress and cortisol. It's the chemical that helps you feel emotionally regulated, steady, grounded. The tricky thing is, however, serotonin is deeply tied to physical health. Your brain only produces healthy levels of serotonin when your body is well supported and healthy. So that means when you're getting enough sleep, enough sunlight, eating nutrient dense foods, a balanced gut microbiome, enough movement, time outdoors, real rest. It obviously sounds very simple. Like these are the basic things that we know to do for our health. But in the world that we live in, that is fast paced and it's all screens and it's sleep deprived, most of us are walking around serotonin deficient without even knowing it. And the more depleted your serotonin is, the more the brain starts to crave stimulation. Not even because it wants to be entertained, but because it is looking for relief, for that uncomfortable feeling that comes with being low in serotonin, that sadness, that numbness, that fogginess. So then when we're craving stimulation, that often feels like numbing, right? I'm sure you felt that. That's why we reach for our phones when we feel anxious or unsettled. That's why we mindlessly scroll in bed, even though we know it's making our sleep worse. When serotonin is low, your brain becomes more anxious, distracted, uncomfortable in stillness. So you instinctively reach for your phone to soothe that discomfort. That is often why we are checking apps, even when we're not actually looking for anything. You're on your phone a lot, not actually usually because of boredom. It's actually because of nervous system dysregulation. But obviously, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. The fix to regulate your nervous system is, of course, not more scrolling, it's more serotonin, which you are not going to find from scrolling. When your serotonin levels are steady, you feel calmer, clearer, and less dependent on your phone to regulate your mood because your nervous system is already doing it for you. So, how do we increase serotonin? The fastest way to support your serotonin levels is by going outside. Sunlight triggers serotonin production through your retina and your eye. When natural light hits your eyes, especially in the morning when you're getting that first dose of sunlight, it sends signals to the brain that boosts serotonin levels right away. That's why getting sunlight early in the day is one of the fastest natural ways to regulate mood and energy. And one major reason that a lot of experts will tell you, especially this time of year in winter, when you're dealing with maybe lower mood, maybe even seasonal affective disorder, going outside in the morning is the most helpful thing you can do because it's supporting your serotonin levels. Being in nature in general typically helps because it reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and supports parasympathetic nervous system activity, your rest and digest state. When your stress goes down, your brain is better able to maintain healthy serotonin function. Like I kind of look at it like almost like a seesaw, like a teeter totter. If cortisol goes up, serotonin goes down. And when serotonin goes up, cortisol goes down. Plus, if you're outside, that typically means that you're moving your body. You're on your hot girl walk, you're breathing deeply, you're not looking at screens, all of which contributes to a calmer, more serotonin friendly environment in the brain. It makes perfect sense. Your brain evolved to regulate itself in sunlight, fresh air, surrounded by grass and trees. For 3,000 plus years, as human beings, we have developed to regulate our nervous systems in that kind of environment, not under fluorescent lights, doom scrolling on a couch with phone technology that's been what, 20 years, 30 years? And with these fluorescent light bulbs, the screens we have access to, the blue light, that's been, I don't know math, 60 years, whatever, 70, 40. I don't know. Please don't quote me on that. But you get my point. We evolved for over 3,000 years one way. And then in the past few decades, we're expecting our bodies to adapt. And it does not work that way. We have to get outside in a natural environment in order to support our serotonin levels. Secondly, gut health is huge for serotonin. About 90%, and some studies even show more like 95% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in the gut, not in the brain. So, your gut microbiome plays a huge role in producing and regulating serotonin. There are certain beneficial gut bacteria that help create the building blocks for serotonin and influence how much of it your body can make and use. So, good gut health will contribute to good serotonin levels. So, that means eat your fiber, eat a wide variety of plants, be mindful of your diet, trying to limit more inflammatory foods that may be damaging your gut health, drink lots of water, just like everything to support your gut health in general will also improve your serotonin levels. Yeah, there is a direct correlation between gut health and phone addiction, which is pretty cool, right? So, nature, time outside, gut health, I mean, good sleep, regular exercise, like general well-being will also help support your serotonin levels too. And then the last brain chemical we're going to talk about is endorphins, your body's built-in relief system. Endorphins are chemicals that your brain releases in response to physical exertion, laughter, pain, even emotional release. Basically, endorphins, think of it as like if your body had its own little pharmacy, because they are meant to work as natural painkillers and also as mood elevators. It's kind of like a natural version of popping an Advil and an SSRI. Think of that like post workout high you get, or the emotional release that you feel after a good cry. You know how you feel like so like euphoric after a really good cry, or like that deep belly laugh that you like immediately feel so much lighter after. That is all endorphins at work. What their purpose is, why we have endorphins, is to help you reset after stress, not just mentally, but physically. It's like the physical release of stress in the body. So think about it. When you have a stressful day or you are in between busy meetings and you think that you need to de-stress, right? So you reach for your phone to scroll for a couple minutes. You are not doing anything to physically release endorphins to actually release the stress. You're just numbing the system or postponing the release, which is why a scroll never actually feels satisfying. Like, who has ever scrolled for 10 minutes and been like, man, that was a good scroll, right? Like, we've never had that experience. It feels like it's never going to be enough. And then eventually you force yourself to put your phone away and it feels like this depletion. It doesn't feel satisfying. It's because our brain is waiting on the endorphin release that never comes. Like, doom scrolling is your brain trying to find endorphins. It's waiting on the release. We know it's just not going to come. There's nothing you're physically doing in your body that is releasing these endorphins. So instead, we stay in a state of low grade tension. We're never fully releasing stress, never letting the body metabolize what it's carrying. But there is a fix, and it doesn't have to require dropping everything to exercise whenever we're tempted to scroll. But that is a great answer, actually, by the way, is to physically move your body whenever you can if you're dealing with any stress. Like, even if you feel that quick second of like, oh, I feel my shoulders getting tense, I feel myself starting to spiral about something, or even just like exercising consistently, having a regular walk, exercise routine, releasing endorphins. That's what it's doing. And so that's kind of telling the brain and the body whatever stress cycle that you were in, it's releasing, it's ending the stress cycle. Endorphins can be released even just from a quick walk around the block, dancing to one song, shaking out your arms and legs. Sometimes that can be helpful if you feel stressful. It's just like stand up for a second and like shake out your body. It feels so silly, but like that is initiating to your body, release endorphins. The stress cycle is completing. We're releasing the stress. If I notice myself getting stressed during my workday, I know I'm lucky since I work from home. I can do this in the privacy of my own home office and not getting Jane from accounting to judge me. We don't have a Jane of accounting at the Everygirl. I just made her up. But if I notice myself getting stressed at all and I feel my shoulders tense and I notice myself getting in my head about like, oh, I have so much to do, I'm so busy, I try to take a minute, just literally 1 minute, 60 seconds. I get up, I shake my body, I dance around, I do a quick yoga flow because it is releasing endorphins and completing the stress cycle. And I swear, I feel, first of all, in that moment, so much less stressed. But then it's also over time releasing stress cycles. So I don't have this like chronic stress. I have all these endorphins that are waiting to be released that aren't. So anyway, movement is, yeah, a great answer. But you know what else works? Better posture. Standing or sitting upright, think like your shoulders back, your open chest, lifted chin. Good posture sends signals to your brain that you are safe, that you're grounded. So this physical stance alone can activate a mild endorphin release, similar to what you would get from movement or power poses, because your body isn't in defense mode like it thinks it is when you're hunched over. Bad posture literally causes stress. Laughter also works to release endorphins. It's actually one of the most powerful and underrated ways to release endorphins. I mean, I could go on and on about this, but this is why if you are going to live with someone, be in a partnership, commit to a partner, get married, have a long-term relationship, move in together, you better freaking make sure that they are funny, honestly, that they can make you laugh. Not even, they don't have to be funny, but they have to make you laugh because laughter and laughing consistently all day, every day is so good for your health for so many reasons, but for our purpose in this, laughing consistently, you are releasing so many endorphins, which is helping your body complete the stress cycle. Honestly, there's no like direct correlation, but if we can just connect some science dots, I'm sure that there is a correlation between having a funny partner and phone addiction. Obviously, there's so many other factors, but I'm just saying, I feel like that could be a thing. After a good belly laugh, your muscles stay relaxed for up to 45 minutes, which creates space for endorphins to do their thing. Laughing with someone else releases endorphins and oxytocin, giving you this double chemical hit of both bonding and release. This is part of why we feel so good after spending time with people who like get our humor, as we say. It is a biological high. There's a biological reason why that feels so good. And by the way, for my less silly girls out there who may not just like laugh on command, even fake laughing can trigger endorphins. Like even like a ha ha ha, even that can trigger endorphins. Your body cannot fully tell the difference at first. So starting with a forced laugh can actually build into a real one and still activate the same benefits. Any influencer or anyone who takes photos or models or whatever it is, like you get this because if we're trying to get a picture of us laughing, we always got to start with a fake laugh, and then it turns into a real laugh. Like you know it. So just remember this, your body wants to reset. It is literally built to. But if you don't give it a way out by releasing endorphins, it will hold everything in and you end up chasing stimulation to distract yourself from the pressure that never got released, which is, I swear, what so much of the doom scrolling and dependency on our phone actually is. So let me recap because I know we covered so much. Here is one tiny action for each of the four brain chemicals. Dopamine, delay your first phone check of the day, phone fasting, even just 30 minutes after waking up, let your brain earn its reward before you give it one. Oxytocin, replace one scroll with real connection. Call your best friend, go on a walk with your roommate, tell someone you love them, hug someone 5 times a day at least. You have no idea how much this makes a difference in your oxytocin levels. Serotonin, step outside, just 5 minutes even of sunlight, nature, movement, whatever feels doable. Let your nervous system breathe. Think of getting outside as medicine for your nervous system. And then endorphins, move, dance, laugh, stretch, shake, be physical, be in your body. Our bodies were meant to move. Let them. That's it. There's no deleting your apps, no 10-step productivity plan, no timers, no intense timers. You don't need a digital detox. You don't need to throw your phone in the ocean and move to the middle of nowhere. You don't need time limits on your apps. Although I like that too. Why not? I have time limits on Instagram and TikTok and things that I am trying to break the habit of. So why not? But if you don't heal the real cause, nothing is going to change. You just need to work with your brain instead of against it and give your brain what it is actually asking for from you every day. You are not lazy or weak or addicted because you lack willpower. You are living in a world that is constantly hijacking the four chemicals designed to help you feel happy, connected, calm, and fulfilled. And you've just never been taught how to hijack them back, how to take your power back. So, my additional challenge for you, which again is a challenge for me, okay, I'm speaking to my people here. Starting tonight, do not charge your phone by the bed. It's okay. I promise it will be fine. I didn't believe that I could literally ever do this. I was like, I'm so dependent on it. And it took just one night of committing to do it to change everything for me. So get an old school alarm clock if you typically use your phone to wake you up. And then just try one night, just tonight, charge it in another room, even if it's in the hallway outside your bedroom door. I promise it will be okay. Turn all notifications off. I know this one might sound a little, what's the word, extreme, but let's think about it. Why are you getting any notifications at all? Think about what that actually means. That means that your phone, or maybe if it's another person, is telling you when you should be checking your phone, when you should stop what you're doing and look at your phone. Your phone is controlling that for you. That's what a notification is. It's telling you, stop what you're doing, now pay attention to me. Why are we getting notifications? The way that I think of it If people really need me, they can call me. But my texts, my Instagram DMs, my email, whatever other apps, I want to check and respond when I choose to, not when other people are demanding my time and attention or when my phone tells me to based on something that's popping up on the screen. Think of every time you're getting a notification. Even just look at, even if you don't go to your phone and look at it or answer it, but you were just directing your eye contact to your phone because it lit up and a sound came out. It is shifting your energy and taking your time and attention and focus from what you were choosing to do. If you need notifications for work, I would set notification time limits, like only allow for email or text during 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or whatever it is for you, so that you go on your phone when you choose to, not when your phone tells you to. And then try these things to hack these four brain chemicals, hijack them back from the world that's taken them from you. Do these things we talked about today, which again they're simple. Do them every day. And even just again, the education for me was the biggest game changer because I know what's going on when I'm tempted to doom scroll, when I'm reaching for my phone. I know what's going on. I know what my brain actually needs, which is what helps break the cycle and will make us so much happier and more fulfilled in our lives. And if quote, mess up tomorrow and you scroll for an hour in bed, you're just human. Remember that this is how your brain has been trained. So it may take some time to unlearn it. That's okay. Our society is what's wrong, not you. I would love and be really curious to hear from you guys actually about this topic. What is your screen time like? We do not need that negativity of checking when our phone tells us the screen time. But I would just be curious, like, where are we at? I also recently heard a study. What country was it? I think Australia, they did a study where they were testing the average phone time of children. I think they were, it was like 10 years old to 13, how much time they spent on their phones during their summer break. As children, we're outside, we're playing, we're getting dirt, we're spying on the cute boy neighbor, we're doing stuff, okay? So, how much would you think kids nowadays are spending on their phone? Kids nowadays, literally, I sound so old. But like, what would you guess? Like, I would guess, on my own, I'm like, oh, I probably spend a couple hours every day on my phone. So this study found that on average, the kids in the study, ages 10 to 13, on their summer break, were spending upwards of 18 hours on their phones. So this is what we're kind of up against. Like, not to be an alarmist, but I think this is like a bigger issue and causing us to be out of our control more than we're giving it credit for. So I'm just curious, what is your screen time like? And maybe even if it's helpful to check what it is right now and then implement some of these things and see in a week or so what your screen time is like. I want to hear from you guys. Do these tips resonate with you? I especially want to know if they end up helping you and you notice a difference like I personally have. So let me know in the Spotify comments and Apple Podcast reviews what you think of your relationship with your screen, what that looks like. And also share about it on Instagram and TikTok. I want to see what tips you're trying. So tag us at the Everygirl podcast. And lastly, please share this episode with a friend. Release some oxytocin by doing an act of service for someone you care about. And they will get a hit of oxytocin too, because they will feel cared for when you send them, hey, I think you'd like this episode or it would serve you. I mean, that's true. That's the honest truth. But that is my sneaky way of trying to get you to share the episode because that is the best way to support the show. And subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. I will see you back on Thursday for maybe one of, honestly, my favorite interviews I've ever done that will give you the exact psychology blueprint to get a promotion or make new friends or have a killer first impression or be the most magnetic person in the room. You are not going to want to miss this episode. I will see you then. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.